Gavin Carrucan was the third child for Frank and Thelma, after Moya and Brian. In this photo from 1944, Gavin can be seen out on the left with his brother Peter. Anne is in the front, his father is in the middle with Estelle, and Moya is on the right. Gavin would marry Gwen Lodge in 1953, and their family would grow to include Michael, David, Christine, Sue, Louise, Tony, and Andrew. In his younger days, Gavin was a keen footballer, using his pace on the wing with the East Q CYMS. Gavin was also a very successful sprinter. He was encouraged to get involved by Kevin Brown, who played footy for Geelong. Gavin ran every Saturday at Olympic Park, Melbourne, during summer. He was present on the famous occasion at the Olympic trials in 1956, where John Landy stopped and went back to help a fallen Ron Clark. John Landy would go on to win the race in 4 minutes and 4 seconds. Gavin said Landy was a terrific fellow. Gavin and other CYMS athletes shared a beer with Landy in the pavilion after that meeting. Gavin was chosen to represent Victoria in the 110-yard race. He ran second. He also ran at the Bendigo Gift in 1949 in an amateur race. He won the heat and the semi-final and borrowed some spikes from a mate. His mate was about 6 foot 2 inches, so their spikes were too big. Gavin put on some extra socks, but he got done in the final. Sadly for Gavin, none of his sprinting genes were passed on to any of his children. Now, let's hear from his siblings, Peter, Anne, Estelle and her husband John, as they talk about Gavin in July 2021, describing how he met Gwen and more. You'll see that the camera changes halfway through and the quality drops a bit, but the stories are worth hearing.
The other thing about Gerald, though, is he gave Gavin his start. Yes. By taking Gavin into partnership. He gave him a chance to save some money, and so that when he did meet up with Gwen, he had some amount of capital behind him to at least branch out on his to buy a house and then to get a different kind of job.
So how did Gavin and Gwen meet?
And mainly through Gwen was so friendly with there was a group of young people who used to knock around together from the parishes round about. So Gavin would have met Gwen there originally.
And he was in the milk bar. Gwen lived in Burke Road. And she was always going, her brother's always saying, oh Mum, did you need some bread or you need some milk? Because I'll just pop across to the milk bar. She was catching up with Gavin.
But see, that Gavin before that he was going to be an auctioneer of what was it? Newcastle, out at Newmarket.
And did he have any girlfriends before Gwen, or was he a good boy?
Oh yes, he went to Saturday night dances and all those things. They went to balls, they went to lots of balls.
He took me to a couple of balls when I was at Bay Street with the milk bar.
In fact he did.
Yes.
I can remember he coming home with
he was a good dancer.
Tom Cleary and banging on the blooming fence.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we'd be hoping that Dad didn't wake up.
No, we weren't hoping him to wake up, we'd all get distraught.
And now we'll hear some more about Gavin from his brother Peter. A fun story about 2 young boys travelling across Melbourne.
Mum had relatives living in Balan on a sheep farm. So their names were Cantwell. And we had spent a Sunday there, and we had such a good time that the men of the family kept encouraging us to come back, and so next day we decided to go. So Gavin would have been about 12, and I would have been 8, and we put on our best clothes. We had a little 2-wheeler truck. We packed the case, put the case in the 2-wheeler, and then went in. It was a Labor Day weekend, so we went in to say goodbye to Mum and Dad. They were still in bed, and off we went. I don't know what they thought, but off we went, and we just kept walking. So we were on the right track. We were on the Ballarat Road. We got across to Footscray.
Did you catch a tram or a train at any point?
No, we didn't. We just walked because we had this little truck with us, and So we were picked up by a couple who were in what made a horse-drawn wagon. Just look, it was familiar in the day, common, but it was just a horse in a two-seater wagon. And we must have, I can remember sitting on the back holding the truck as it went past, and I don't know where Gavin was. But they took us a little way along towards Footscray, and then we got off. They said that's as far as they're going. So then I think they must have gone around to the police and told them about these two boys. And I know we were getting a little bit, I was getting a little anxious because...
Sadly, the camera battery gave out just before Peter finished the story for those two young brothers. Seen here at Gavin's 91st birthday, about 80 years after this adventure. Gavin claimed that this happened when he was 9 and Peter was 5 or 6. Do we believe Peter's recollection of their age, or Gavin's? At least the story ended well. Gavin told the story. His dad arrived in the grandfather's Dodge car to take them home, and as far as Gavin remembered, he did not get the strap this time. His father was just so relieved to have found both boys safe and well. Let's hear some more from Peter about some of the challenges that Gavin had with his father.
Gavin got a big belting when he was about 14, and that must have crushed him, I think. He must have been bullied at school, and not only by the other boys, but also by the teacher. And so he got it into his head that he was going to change things. So he went and got a job. Got on his bike. I don't know where he got the job, but he got a job in the city somewhere. He was only about 14 or 15. He was in year 10. And he must have, I know he was sad because he was hurting a lot. And then the brothers in those days would send you a letter saying your son hasn't been at school. There's truancy. They used to have the truant inspectors. So when he got home, I think it was about 4 or 5 days, he was glorious freedom. And so Dad caught up. And then it was only about 3 or 4 days later came this big thrashing, because my father also said it was the worst thing he ever did. Should never have done it, because he said by the time we got around to doing it, it's cold-blooded. The drama had sort of passed, but he felt obligated to teach his son a lesson, not to do this. But instead of teaching him a lesson, it just crushed him. He's 14, and it took him a long. And my father said it took him 2 years to win Gavin's confidence again, to trust him. So, yeah. Sometimes people do things in good faith. That's a terrible thing.
Gavin lived a full life, and we've only told a small part of the story here. In July 2019, Gavin was able to celebrate his 91st birthday at the Harp Hotel in East Kew with Gwen and his brother Peter and sisters Anne and Estelle. Gavin died on the 2nd of July 2021, aged 92. He and Gwen had 7 children, 13 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.